as the CEO is happy with the $400 million gift he got from the Prime Minister, that's all that matters to these Liberals.
If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell them the truth.
Yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth...
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that.
It's too bad that that minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears all of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that has built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of their country?
And we decide what comes next.
Canada know that this government has their back. There's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
Of course there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government.
Being serious means being honest and telling Canadians.
Canada's economy is in fact growing.
Great country.
disgraceful attempt at character assassination time and time again from the Conservative Party of Canada. That's how low and dirty they are in regards to politics, Mr. Speaker.
As the Prime Minister holds the levers of power in this country, every decision that he makes, Madam Speaker, can and will benefit him, Liberal-connected insiders, and his corporate buddies.
Debate the honourable member for Barrie South Innisfil.
When the Prime Minister said who cares during his visit to the UAE recently about the state of trade talks with the U.S., he meant it, and here's why. No one should be naive in thinking that the Prime Minister left a trillion-dollar company making millions of dollars in both salary and deferred compensations for some virtuous reason to make $400,000 as the Prime Minister to negotiate a trade deal or save us from ourselves. Almost everything in the Budget Implementation Act is set up to use the power of the Prime Minister's office to benefit a group of well-connected Liberal insiders, lobbyists, and his corporate buddies. This was a process that started in 2020 when the Prime Minister was appointed as the economic advisor to Justin Trudeau while still acting as chair of Brookfield Asset Management. Having Trudeau in power was a dream come true for this incestuous cabal of Liberal elites. While Trudeau was playing Prime Minister, the pieces being put into place to ensure that many, if not all, of the public financial instruments, green investment funds, and policies the Prime Minister started pushing when he was pulling Trudeau's strings as his economic advisor aligned with Brookfield's strategy and success. Last week, we found out from Brookfield's chief operating officer that the Prime Minister stands to make millions in carried interest payments from his company's success related to climate and infrastructure schemes he set up. These funds could generate tens of millions of dollars in carried interest for the Prime Minister personally, depending on their performance over the next decade. But here's the problem. The Prime Minister knows what he owned before the blind trust was set up. Every time he makes a decision on infrastructure, energy, climate policy, or with tax incentives that are in the BIA, this will help Brookfield in areas where Brookfield is deeply invested. Questions should arise. Is this policy for Canadians, or Brookfield, or for him? Critics will argue that they've set up a blind trust and an ethics screen, and that's enough to ensure public confidence and trust. But Brookfield's interests from artificial intelligence, modular housing, carbon capture, nuclear, and the transition model of public risk for private return he set up while advising Trudeau will make the Prime Minister millions, and he knows it. Furthermore, the screen is administered by two political appointees by the Prime Minister. We found out last week that the Prime Minister met with Brookfield executives privately in the Prime Minister's office in October, which would cause a reasonable person to think that the screen is not being willfully applied, given the fact that the Prime Minister is not supposed to have any interaction with Brookfield, either its people or its entities. So who cares? We all should, because democracy depends on trust. If Canadians believe their leaders are making decisions to enrich their companies or themselves, confidence in our institution erodes even more than it has under these Liberals. This isn't about partisan politics, it's about accountability. Canadians deserve leaders who serve the public interest, not private portfolios. So my assessment on this budget is simple. For those who support expansive government involvement in every aspect of our economy, subsidies given to companies that would otherwise invest their own capital, Brookfield's deep involvement in policies shaped by their former chair and now Prime Minister, policies which he and the company stand to gain from, bloating debt and deficits that burden our families, seniors, and future generations, and a system that gives Liberal insiders and lobbyists unfettered access to the Treasury while Canada drifts closer and closer towards a kleptocracy.
This is a little over time. Questions and comments. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I find it disgusting and somewhat shameful that members of the Conservative parties continue to have character assassination of the Prime Minister. At the end of the day, Madam Speaker, there are even Conservative MPs that have investments in Brookfield. Individuals including the Deputy Leader. As opposed to dealing with the substance of legislation and the budget, we have a disgraceful attempt at character assassination time and time again from the Conservative Party of Canada. That's how low and dirty they are in regards to politics, Madam Speaker. I would ask the member, when are they going to start focusing on Canadian interests as opposed to their own political partisanship, Madam Speaker?
The honourable member for Barrie South Innisfil.
Well, that got him going, didn't it? The truth hurts. Actually, everything I said is open source and based on testimony at the Ethics Committee and some of the discussion and questions that have been had in this office. The difference is the Prime Minister holds the levers of power in this country. Every decision that he makes, Madam Speaker, can and will benefit him, Liberal-connected insiders, and his corporate buddies. That's the difference. When members of the opposition hold stocks, let's say in Brookfield, they don't hold the levers of power that will enrich themselves. They do not, Madam Speaker. The truth is the truth. And what I spoke today is the truth.
Character assassination time and time again from the Conservative Party of Canada. That's how low and dirty they are in regards to politics, Mr. Speaker.
The CEO of Algoma Steel that there would be an even darker day if this
as long as the CEO is happy with the $400 million gift he got from the Prime Minister, that's all that matters to these Liberals.
If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell them the truth.
Yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth...
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, we will do no less conservative. Trust me on that.
It's too bad that that minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears all of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that is built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of their country?
And we decide what comes next.
Canada know that this government has their back. It will continue. There's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
Of course there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government.
Being serious, means being honest and telling Canadians.
Canada's economy is in fact growing.
Great country.
According to Canada's food price report, when the Liberals took office, the cost of a basket of groceries was $8,300. Now, it's $16,800, double. Liberal inflationary deficits and taxes on farm equipment, fertilizer, food processors have all exploded the cost of food. Tomorrow, that same report will be released projecting the cost for next year. Given the Prime Minister's promise to be judged by the prices at the grocery store, how much will Canadians have to spend on groceries to survive next year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let's get our numbers straight. The Canadian economy is the strongest growing economy in the G7, 2.6% annualized. Canadian wages are growing faster than inflation for every month that this government has been in office, 3.2%, over 2.2%. Unemployment is down, wages are up, the land is strong, we're moving forward.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, as you walk down the grocery aisle, watching the prices rise before your eyes, know that the Prime Minister, who stashes his cash in a tax haven, said, "You've never had it so good. You, the Canadian people, you're literally double under this government, from $8,300 to $16,800 in a decade."
Shameful.
Tomorrow, we will find out in the Canada food price report how much groceries will cost an average family next year. Given the Prime Minister has promised to be judged on the price of groceries, will he tell Canadian families how much they'll have to pay?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what this government is happy to tell Canadian families is we cut their taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the taxes on first-time home buyers. And we are investing. We are investing a budget, which the Leader of the Opposition and the members opposite voted against. A budget that is going to cause $1 trillion of investment in this country over the next 5 years, grow jobs, grow futures for Canada. We believe in Canada. Come join us.
Here, here.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We voted against this Prime Minister doubling Justin Trudeau's deficit, which will drive up groceries even more. And what's he spending the money on? On corporate bailouts for companies that ship jobs out of Canada. The Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win and have a deal by July 21st. Still no win, still no deal, still no elbows. And now 1,000 workers at Algoma Steel are losing their jobs. We now learn that the Prime Minister gave $400 million to the corporate executives of that company without any job guarantees. How is it the Prime Minister could have been so incompetent to saddle Canadians who can't afford to pay their bills with a $400 million bailout bill without any guarantee of jobs staying in Canada?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, these are difficult times in Sault Ste. Marie, and our hearts go to the families. But as I quote the CEO of Algoma Steel, that there would be an even darker day if this government hadn't acted. Exactly. That loan, that support, saved 2/3 of those jobs. That loan, that support gives Algoma a bridge to the future that we are building strong in this country and that they voted against.
Here, here.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
As long as the CEO is happy with the $400 million gift he got from the Prime Minister, that's all that matters to these Liberals. He didn't give the workers a bridge to the future, he gave them a bridge to the unemployment lines, 1,000 of them. 1/3 of the workers at Algoma in Sault Ste. Marie have now lost their jobs after the Prime Minister paid to have those jobs shipped abroad. How is it that he could have been so irresponsible with the money of hardworking Canadians that he would pay a corporate CEO $400 million to send 1,000 jobs south?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, may I quote a Conservative leader that's actually in office? The Premier of Ontario. We had a choice. Save 2/3 of the jobs or let the company go down. We chose the future. We chose the future for Algoma Steel so they can invest in the future, so we can buy Canadian, so we can build this country. They had an opportunity to vote for that future. They voted against it. It's good that we're here.
The Honourable Member for Bellay-Chambly.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Liberals love to give corporate bailouts and handouts to companies that ship jobs out of our country. Now we learn the Liberal government has pledged $15 billion, or $1,000 for every tax-paying family in Canada, people who can't afford food, to Stellantis. And Mr. Speaker, investment is fleeing this country almost as fast as the Prime Minister is running out the back door of Parliament right now. Why won't he?
The honourable member knows that that's offside. The honourable member knows. question, which is also that of the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister gets angry and runs out the door rather than answering the questions about the cost.
He didn't say he wasn't here. Didn't say he wasn't here.
$15 billion out the door. $1,000 for every tax-paying family to a company that is shipping jobs out of the country. Why is he sending our dollars away, our jobs away, while he runs away?
L'honorable Ministre des Finances.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
From this Conservative, never, not today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. By the time they ask question on this side of the House, every single member on this side, Mr. Speaker, we're fighting for Canada. We're fighting for auto industry. We're fighting for our workers. We're fighting to build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker. We should all join to defend our workers in the middle of a trade war. We don't need that kind of conservative politics. We need to stand up for Canada, build Canada strong. I believe in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister can't stand up for workers if he can't even stand up in the House of Commons. And that Finance Minister is the one that signed the sweetheart $15 billion subsidy.
I've got company here.
Just do the job.
I've got company. I didn't hear the beginning of the question. The member did lose one question, but I'd like him to start from the top on that one.
The Prime Minister cannot stand up for workers if he cannot even stand up and answer my questions, Mr. Speaker. And that Finance Minister is not stood up for workers either. He signed a $15 billion sweetheart subsidy deal with Stellantis, and now that same company, taking our tax dollars, the equivalent of $1,000 for every family in Canada, is shipping the jobs to the United States of America. The current industry minister says she has not even read the $15 billion contract. Has the Prime Minister even read the contract, or did he simply look at the $15 billion deal and say, who cares?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians who are watching at home are looking at someone whose only need is ever made was to come to this House, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we have always stood to make sure we will build this country. We will attract investment, Mr. Speaker. He should be ashamed. Ask Canadian, when is the last deal he brought in this country, Mr. Speaker? Ask him when he created one job in this country apart his own job, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we will always stand for workers. We will bring investment. We will build the strongest economy in the G7 because we believe in Canada. We're going to fight, Mr. Speaker, every single day for Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
You're going to go and report to the Prime Minister to the Witness Protection Program because he refuses to stand in this House and answer about his government's expenditure of $15 billion, $1,000 for every Canadian family to one company, supposedly to create jobs. That same company now ships those jobs south of the border, and the government is covering up the contract. Yesterday we learned from the company that they don't have any reason to retract the contract. So why doesn't the government release the full details of the contract so that Canadians can find out how badly the Prime Minister ripped them off?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
3 points. First, he should ask a member from Windsor to come see from his side of the House whether she agrees with what he says regarding the Stellantis workers in Windsor. Second, when it comes to the documents, the committee members will have access to all the documents. That's a moot question. Third, when it comes to what is happening with Stellantis at Brampton, we had a contract. They broke the contract. Stellantis did. We'll get our money back, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, about this $15 billion bailout and handout. She didn't read the contract, she didn't read the contract, and she didn't read the contract. How can she possibly claim she's going to get the money back when she doesn't know what legal powers are in the contract? Because she admits she didn't read the contract, Mr. Speaker. So my question to her, as families are lining up at food banks because they can't afford food, how does she justify charging every single household $1,000 for a handout to a company shipping jobs south of the border?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I didn't admit that. Second, I read the contract. And third, the committee members will have all the details. That being said, Mr. Speaker, what we'll do is we will fight for these jobs. We know that the workers are affected in the auto sector, in the steel sector, by the unjustified and unjustifiable American tariffs. And we will make sure that we get these jobs back to Canada, and we'll fight for every single job, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, I had the honor to stand with the Unifor workers in Brampton who were out in the rain and the cold. There was not a Liberal around, not a word from the Prime Minister. All of them wanted to know what was happening with their jobs. The Liberals had given money to Stellantis for that plant, given $15 billion to Stellantis for another plant. And those workers, out in the cold, unable to afford their mortgages, were wondering how it was possible for this Prime Minister to give $15 billion without even guaranteeing their jobs. Does he have the courage to stand up now and explain it to their face?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, I don't need any lesson. We don't need any lesson from the Conservatives when it comes to courage and standing up for workers that are unionised. That is why I was in Brampton along with the workers, and that is why I was even talking to Lana Payne a bit earlier today. Because you know what she was telling me? She was saying to me how much the Harper government and the Conservative government in 2009, when the government at the time decided to bail out GM and Chrysler, they did nothing to protect the workers, and that is what is their record when it comes to the auto sector.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister asked an interesting question. Who cares? Who cares, he asked. Well, he's not there, so he doesn't care, Mr. Speaker.
I assume that the member meant somehow metaphorically. But maybe next time, not so many metaphors.
It was a metaphor, just like all those Liberal promises, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately today we learned even more terrible news. The Domtar workers in British Columbia have lost their jobs as a 30th mill has closed under this Liberal government. The Prime Minister promised that he would get a deal to end the tariffs, and those tariffs have tripled, all while he removes the legal challenge against the illegal softwood lumber tariffs. How is it the Prime Minister broke his promise and sold out our lumber workers?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
The member opposite has realized there is a trade war. That trade war is creating challenging times for the people of Crofton, and we understand that. I was on the phone with the CEO today working on new solutions to retool that mill. I was on the phone with the Minister of Forestry looking at new fiber solutions for the mill. We're standing up for the forestry industry. They just...
And of course, I didn't have the mic on. Let's do that again. Welcome to the nap, where we preface the question period by a review of far left evil that has beset our land and the events that surround it. We usually precede the question period by 45 minutes, and we'll keep covering the lower house until the government decides to stop showing up. Now, I had the entire show set up, and for the same thing that happened on Monday, literally a couple of minutes before the show started, as I was doing all of your videos and watching them, my browser crashed. Lost everything. So I've been resetting. So if you've been seeing some interruptions in the stream, it's probably because I'm downloading a lot of data all over again. Nothing happens by coincidence. Anyways, I'll be right back in about 5 minutes or less as the rest of these panels load, and we can get started with the show. The shit show. Sorry about the entire screw up on the beginning, but there's not much I can do when my browser crashes. Literally a couple of minutes before the entire show is supposed to start. I'm lucky I got the browser actually reloaded, and that this time around it actually let me redo the history, or else we wouldn't be having much of a show, I tell you that. We're streaming on 3 platforms, X, Rumble, and YouTube. I'd like to thank all my followers and subscribers if you're still hanging around. And if you're new here, please give us a thumbs up. And if you're watching on repeat, please give us a comment down below and you will get an answer. Comments drive the algorithm when I'm not driving the algorithm down with my forbidden words, or just driving people away by not having an actual show when I'm supposed to at the time because of a browser crash. Let's get right on to the first thing. As you may have seen in the intro, if you actually watched it, there's been a lot going on about Bill C9 and protection of freedom of rights across Canada, especially with the Liberals and joining with the Bloc Québécois are trying to do within Parliament. And this all comes down really to cultural Marxism and how they are trying to destroy all our rights surreptitiously by coming in at different angles, usually by invoking safety, right? Or you have to avoid harm, right? So in this case here, they've created this entire thing since 2015, now making it illegal in pretty well all places, to dismiss what the cultural Marxists want us to believe. In fact, even if it infringes on reality or let alone our own faith beliefs, they don't care. You will submit to their cultural ideology whether or not you like it. Here's a good example right here. You have Pastor Derek Reimer being arrested again for refusing a court-ordered apology. Yeah.
Arrest for your breach of CSO. Can you come inside with us, please? Yeah, right here. Okay. Sounds good. Are you able to drop that for me or pass it off to one of your friends? Can I finish it? Well, you can finish it, yeah.
You know why you're arresting this man for? He refused to apologize for his religious beliefs. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of
He's protecting your children and your grandchildren.
Modern day Nazis.
Do you guys understand how absurd this is? This is so sad. If you guys really understood what you're doing, you probably wouldn't be doing it. This is not a prideful thing to do. A shameful. Yeah. It's okay, buddy. It's okay.
Alberta, Canada, 21st century right now.
I know. It's so sad. I know. It's okay.
That's the face of fascism right there, folks. If you don't think how we want you to think, we're going to put you in prison. There are plenty of more examples of this type of communism that is sweeping across the planet, Western civilization, piece by piece. And I don't know if you're aware of Enoch Burke in Ireland. He is basically facing the exact same thing.
Okay. This is Enoch Burke, the teacher who has refused to deny his Christian belief and bow to transgender ideology. We're here at the Four Courts again in Dublin, where Enoch's case was again before Mr. Justice Brian Cregan, and he had a number of matters to deal with today in relation to the case. But at the beginning he said if any member of the Burke family so much as speaks, they will be removed by Gardaí. So this is the situation we are in. Lies are being told from the bench. Enoch Burke, his name blackened, the Constitution set at naught, the law disregarded, and if a person so much as speaks a word, they will be removed by a battalion of Gardaí.
Judge Cregan today has given us a new version of the Constitution regarding religious freedom. He said if Enoch Burke practiced his Christian belief outside the gate, this would never have happened. He said it 3 times today. So he is telling us you can have your religious belief outside the gate. But you know, that's not what the Constitution tells us. It tells us that we have a constitutional right to the free practice and profession of our religious belief in our school, in our job, in our shop, wherever we are, not according to this perverted idea and judgment of Judge Cregan.
The judge brought up an article that he had read this morning on the Irish Independent by Shane Phelan. He began to quiz Enoch on the article. Strange, I must say. Enoch Burke brought that issue again, that there were lies in the judgment of Mr. Justice Brian Cregan from the 18th of November. Lies about that he was a baleful and malign presence at the school, that he was stalking the school, its teachers and pupils, and that the pupils and teachers of the school had indicated in their affidavits that Enoch Burke was a danger, a potential danger to them. Now, these are baseless lies. Really, we saw a judge caught out today, fumbling, talking over Enoch, cutting across him, saying, "Oh, that's not the word I used. I used a different definition of the word," saying that he used stalking in a figurative and metaphorical sense. This is outrageous behaviour. It's an outrageous abuse of power by.
It's something that's been repeated over and over and will continue to be repeated over and over again by activists and judiciaries across the West. It is happening all over. When we're talking about cultural Marxism creeping in, we mentioned this death cult that we have in Canada now that is ready to provide you with death rather than healthcare. But before you sign up to it, you have to sign over all your organs first. Right. Well, that's coming. It's not there, but that's on its way. More censorship here and the use of police state powers to arrest people that they feel is not safe to be around. Oh, yes. This is how the cultural Marxists do it, right? They say that your words are violence, and then they have you arrested for being violent when, in fact, you're just saying things normally and you're asking them to defend their position, and they can't. So they use the state powers to arrest.
It was a wild, it was a wild time. So I was coming on with my billboards, which say what remains, ask what remains, and the 215, every child matters. And then the back one, which is denial or truth, with the sign that Dallas Brody was holding up 0 bodies in front of the billboard, basically misinforming people that 215 bodies had been found at Kamloops.
So this is Professor Francis Widdowson, who was just engaging people in a conversation. And the university said, oh, we can't have people of higher learning, maybe practicing higher learning with our students by getting them to engage in some critical thinking. We can't have that, so let's call the police.
And I had been given an email by University of Victoria the day before saying that I couldn't come because I had an unauthorized event, but it wasn't an event. I was just there with my billboard wanting to, ask questions and have questions asked about my position. And then when I walked in with my billboards and with Dallas Brody and Jim McMurtry, we were met by quite a few police officers who told us that we were not welcome on campus and that we would need to leave. And I said that I would not be leaving. I would be staying here to do this question and answer. And then the UVic safety person came up and gave me a notice that I was restricted from campus, and then the police escorted me to the police cruiser, and I was taken off to jail.
Wow. How long did you spend in jail?
It wasn't that long. It was about an hour, I guess. Like, I'd like to say that I was, I had some terrible things done to me, but it was all very tame. It was not, there was no problem. It was just kind of the fact that I was arrested for just wanting to have a discussion with students, faculty, and members of the community, and then all sorts of assaults and horrible, horrendous behavior happened after. I wasn't there to witness it, but I've seen the footage now, and the police did nothing and arrested none of the people who were engaged in all.
Now, what is she talking about? Well, this panel, oh my God. Let's reload this panel. Gray Humphrey from Rebel News has the footage of which Francis was speaking about. And As you can see, this is how the cultural Marxists operate, right? They will go out of their way to arrest people for thought crimes, but real violence, no, that can't be dealt with. No. The real violence actually promotes the Marxism by allowing society to decay so that Marxists can come in with their authoritarianism and say, see, it's not safe to be out there. That's why we need to control everything. Let's watch this footage.
To be doing that. Private funds, so I think 36. Where are the cops?
I don't know that.
Yeah, where's the cops now? Where's the cops?
Well, it's interesting. Somebody went and popped some smoke there.
Let go. Back on me.
Popped the smoke like that. That's mischief. The cops aren't doing anything. This guy over there that's being pushed around, he's got his face covered. Obviously because he's intimidating people by covering his face. That's why the other guy's probably pushing back.
Back over there. We'll deal with this. Back over there.
Are you proud of this? Are you proud of this, University of Victoria?
There we go. It looks like that was a creator right there because he went over to his friend to get his equipment back. Because he was defending himself. So obviously it was a mass creep again, going in against independent media, going in to intimidate them, and as soon as they push back, oh, there's the cops.
You aren't fucking welcome. You aren't even fucking welcome to your own family station. Fuck
Right there, not a flash, man.
What a bunch of children.
I know it's worse than
They're
that.
acting like 6-year-olds.
fucking turkey at Christmas at your family for you, is there? You're hateful.
And that's how the Marxists act. If you go into history, that's exactly how they bring about their power, always through violence. Except in this case here, the Marxists actually are in government. And they have state-controlled violence. But, you know, they're state Gestapo. A lot of them are like, ooh, do we really want to be Gestapo? So they're like ploddingly, slowly going along. Yeah, how did that work out for the RCMP over the ostrich cull? Let's watch what Mario has to say and how far we've gotten with this cultural Marxism. It's so deeply rooted, and he will be talking about someone in the ministry in BC, of which we've covered here before. If you've seen the show before, you've seen this particular minister that he's going to be talking about actually respond in the Legislative Assembly in BC, and she's cooked. Her brain is absolutely cooked.
Kids are watching, maybe pause this for a moment. This man raped a 3-month-old who required reconstructive surgery, and he drowned a 3-year-old. And he was still a teenager when this happened. But he was put in prison. Then while in prison, the British Columbia government paid for him to get breast implants. And because he's now identifying as a woman, they transferred him into the Fraser Valley Penitentiary for women. And in our female prisons in Canada, there are units with moms with their small children. Up to a certain age, they can have their kids with them. So they have this separate unit. This man was placed right next door to that unit. And while he's been there, he has, of course, assaulted a woman.
Is he still there?
Yeah. So I went to Victoria, the capital, to meet with the Minister of Education about this. He wouldn't meet with me. If I just say I'm going to go, we'll see what happens. I went to meet him. He wouldn't meet. I actually walked into his campaign headquarters. I stumbled upon it. There were all these new Democratic Party members. It's called the NDP. They're far left party. And they are our ruling party in BC. And I talked to this woman at the desk. Her name's Grace Lohr. I didn't know who she was. I just walked in and started telling her all about this child abuse, of child transition, all about puberty blockers, everything. And for about 10 minutes, everyone in this building fell quiet, and they listened to me basically give this 10-minute speech to this woman listening to me at the desk. I told her all about the child abuse, and then I got to this women in prison story, and I told her about this man. His name's Adam Labukin. I told her exactly what I just told you. And when I was telling that story, another politician shut me down. She said I was making them feel unsafe. And I was telling this story as calm as can be, like I always do. But that made them feel unsafe. 3 times I was told that, and they kicked me out.
This is your elected official.
Yes. I came back the next morning to try to meet with the Minister of Education again. They locked me out. I have subsequently told this story online in great detail. Grace Lohr, that woman I was speaking to, who became the Minister of Children and Family Development. What I didn't know at the time I first spoke with her, she was a former gender studies professor at the University of Victoria. When I told this story on Twitter and I tagged her, she responded, proudly stating, Simply, I stand with the transgender community.
I don't know how I haven't heard of the story before, but I looked it up and it's real. The individual that he was talking about, Dan, he was seeking a leave from prison. It's because he's a two-spirit individual of the Medi Cree heritage. He went gender-affirming operations while serving an indefinite sentence, and he also admitted to drowning a 3-year-old boy when he was 11 years old. And the person that he was talking about, the member of the NDP, this is who it is, Grace Lohr. Despite hearing all this information, the only thing Grace could say is that she stands by the transgender community. That's not the statement I would expect to hear from any elected official, given the gravity of the scenario and the situation of this disgusting criminal convicted of these things being locked up with other women and near a children ward. Let's just say that.
And that's why they have to use state powers to shut you down, because if you shine the light on their evil, it exposes them. And this is the same NDP government out in BC that believes in the fake graves scam, that calls people deniers when all we're saying is habeas corpus. You keep saying there's graves, but you won't put a shovel in the ground and prove what you're saying. It's the constant oppressor victim narrative in order to control people. And when they refuse to engage and answer for their idiocy, it only proves more and more that we are slipping into this communist shithole that completely enveloped the Eastern societies and slipped them into communism. Now, here we have the city of Toronto is rolling out a revised and expansive land acknowledgement that includes terms like extractive violences. They're just making up words. They're just making up stuff to get people upset, to ensure that they have to follow the new ideology, their new religion, and land reparations. This revised acknowledgement will be part of the City of Toronto's mandatory equity training for public employees. Mandatory, that's right. Their ideology is mandatory. You can't force anyone to have a religion in Canada, but you can force them to conform to your ideology, apparently. Do you think this expansion of ancestral land and extractive acknowledgements are beneficial to citizens? Let's watch this.
I will now turn it over to our Vice Chair, Lucina, to share the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Morley. I wish to honor the innumerable ways African ancestral languages, spiritualities, knowledge systems, and kinship ties survive in the lives of Black people here in Toronto and around the world. I further situate our work in a global context. Decolonizing movements and struggles for racial, economic, and cultural justice are active across continents, from community land reparations and cultural resurgence to transnational solidarity with migrants, refugees, and peoples resisting extractive and imperial violence.
Blah 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 blah. There's only one thing that council should be acknowledging, and that's the taxpayer providing their salary. Why is it still playing? There we go. Yeah, I wish it acknowledged the taxpayer, the one that's providing all this money so they can stand up there and be fools. Now here's Greg Wycliffe. I've previewed him on the channel before. His first ever screening of The Hate Network, Exposing Canada's Smear Merchants, is happening in Calgary, Tuesday, December 16th. Get your tickets now. This will be interesting. I wonder if I'm sure he'll be going nationwide, and this will be popping up in theaters everywhere. If not, I mean, obviously it's probably going to be available online or through a website that they're going to set up for people to watch. But the fact that people can get together and watch this in the theater and then have a conversation afterwards is probably really important. And this is all part of it. This is all part of their cultural Marxist expansionism that Greg here is exposing. And speaking of exposing the smear merchants, if anybody's not familiar with Artur Pawlowski, one of the big independent fighters during the COVIDity stupidity, who would not stand down to the liberal fascists sending their goon squads, their Gestapo, to basically arrest a priest for holding services. And we know now, of course, that all the rules that they were imposing were all just BS. It didn't help anything. It was all based on fakeness. It was just made up. None of it was based on science, and we knew that at the time. Anyone with half a brain would have known that this was pure psychological operation in order to make you take an injection. Which, by the way, this injection, we still do not know who authorized the COVID-19 vaccine in Canada. Right, again, I always say this to Mary Galini over at Rebel News, has been doing the investigation on this, and they can't seem to find out. The government will not admit who authorized the COVID-19 vaccine, the so-called safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine that is still required by the Canadian Armed Forces members to take 3 jabs in order to get on a deployment. It's right there. Chief of Defense Staff, Operational Directive 003. So anyway, let's listen to Pulowski speaking to
was kept in solitary confinement. I was arrested. I was not only imprisoned, I was kept in solitary confinement against the international laws. I was kept in metal cages for keeping the church's doors open. I was kept in psych ward against the law. I mean, without the evaluation of the doctors, Alex, without the even knowledge of Alberta Health Services, I was kept in psych ward with the crazy people because they were hoping someone will assassinate me there. 5 inmates testified to my lawyers about the guards coming to them, offering them all kinds of trinkets, all kinds of benefits if they would kill me in prison. You know, Alex, they lit my house on fire. They lit our church on fire. They burned down our children's baths. They broke into our church, stole our equipment, speakers, cameras. They unscrewed tires in my pickup truck, and the tire just took off in the middle. I mean, I was physically attacked. Bear sprayed, you name it, Antifa in my house, in my backyard. So those things are tactics of a totalitarian regime sending a message to everybody else. You don't want to become Alex. You don't want to become Artur Pulowski. You don't want to become Derek Reimer, a whistleblower that is exposing right now the pedophilia and the grooming of the children in the city of Calgary in Alberta, Canada. For that, he has been imprisoned today, right after the show. Alex, I'm going outside the probation office because he might be arrested, and you will not believe what are the charges. He refused to apologize. So the judges, just like in my case, Adam Germain, the crooked judge of Alberta, ordered me a compelled speech. He said, you must tell the people that you talk to, programs or sermons about the COVID-19, the government-approved script. If you will refuse, you will go to prison for contempt of court. And of course, as you know, I grabbed the mic and I said, Judge, I hope you're listening to me. I'll never, ever obey your order because I'm a pastor. I preach the truth. You want me to lie? I refuse to lie to the people. So that was overturned in the Court of Appeal. But then I got arrested again for a sermon. I have become the first Canadian ever to be charged with terrorism for delivering a sermon to peaceful Canadians during the truck convoy. And I was imprisoned and I was found guilty and my appeal was denied. We're dealing, Alex, right now with the crooked judges, a weaponized justice system that doesn't care about the law.
Introducing Ultra DNA Revival, the advanced daily supplement designed to help you feel and perform at your absolute best, starting at the cellular level. Backed by cutting-edge mitochondrial and DNA.
For some reason, I couldn't turn off that video. As you can see, when the Liberals are saying, oh, it's okay, don't worry. When we put Bill C-9 through and we make it illegal for people to read scripture because it might be causing people to act terroristically and we're just going to consider it hate speech, don't worry about it. We don't really mean that. Right? We're not really going to enforce that. Meanwhile, even without the hate speech laws in Bill C-9, you have this kind of stuff going on in Canada. I'm telling you, folks, we are so close to the edge of tyranny, the tyranny that's already been excised upon us by the Liberals. And most people said, meh, they were bad people. They deserved it. Not realizing that eventually that will also be used upon them with no recourse. Slice by slice. And how do you get there? Why would Canada be on that way? Maybe it's because the Liberals are so closely connected with Communist China.
Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians special report on foreign interference in Canada's democratic process and institutions. Almost a 100-page report. This is not fiction. This is not speculation. This is the story of how the Chinese Communist Party, through silence, strategy, and psychological warfare, reached deep into the heart of Canadian democracy. 2018 CSIS sounds the alarm. Canada is vulnerable. The CPP is no longer just watching, they are acting. SITE, SITE is born, but its vision is narrow and the CPP are playing the long game. 2019, the Hong Dong affair. International students threatened with lost visas are bussed into a secure CPP-friendly nomination. CSIS briefs Trudeau, nothing is done. 2020, $250,000 flows from CPP proxies into Canada's political veins. Influence is purchased, Trudeau is silent. The war on perception begins 2021 to 2023. In 2021, the battle ignites. Conservatives are branded Trumpian by the CPP, backed by WeChat political campaigns, and WeChat is their largest social network. If you ever wondered where that narrative came from, it is well documented to have developed by the CPP. MP Michael Chong is also targeted for standing against Uyghur genocide. The message, obey or be destroyed. CSIS intelligence is buried by Democrats, and the truth is withheld from Canadian leaders, as we've seen in the past. 2022, the discovery, 7 illegal CPP police stations operating on Canadian soil. Imitation of Chinese Canadians, surveillance is masked in diplomacy. In 2023, the Zoa Wee scandal explodes, and the media finally forces Trudeau's hand. A token expulsion, inquiry born only from public outrage, not of political will. 2024 to 2025, the CPP's candidate. October 24th, Mark Carney, the global banker, shakes hands with Beijing's mayor, Yin Yang. Confidence declared. Days later, Brookfield Asset Management, of where he sat vice chair, secures a loan of $276 million from the Chinese government. January 25th, Krista Freeland rises. A leadership bid, the CPP responds with a coordinated smear campaign on WeChat. Millions are reached and her reputation dismantled. I guess she's not their top pick, but do you know who is? March 2025, Mark Carney, untouched, ascends to Liberal leadership. Same WeChat campaigns are ran, praising him greatly before very subtly questioning his credentials. This is a known classic Chinese Communist Party tactic: control both rise and the narrative, and avoiding bias detection by including very subtle amounts of non-biased comments. Meanwhile, Paul Chang suggests that a political rival of the Conservatives be handed over to Beijing to collect a reward. This could ultimately lead to his execution. Carney refuses to act until the RCMP starts an investigation, and that night Paul Chang steps down himself. Carney then appoints Peter Ewan, man photographed saluting Progressive Republic of China, tied to numerous organizations scrutinized for Chinese interference, including the same educational system that had bussed students into Hong Dong's nomination. The psychological manipulation which the Chinese try to employ and are known for are pluralistic ignorance. Chinese Canadians and Canadians are flooded with pro-CCP and liberal messages, led to believe dissent is rare, which creates a false majority. Astroturfing. Community groups are transformed into echo chambers of Beijing's agenda. AI and bots massively leveraged. Sleeper accounts, deep fakes, misinformation, completely transforming digital platforms into weapons. Environmental bias, coercion, threats to families overseas, visas used as bargaining chips. This is no longer interference. It's infiltration. The nomination races to national leadership. From digital whispers of financial chains, the CPP's hand moves steadily, and as some turn a blind eye, others are chosen. Question is no longer, are they here? It's what will they do next with this tremendous, sophisticated influence?
He's been putting a lot of videos together. I suggest you go visit his site, Hillier Investigates. Excellent videos. I think I've shown at least 3 or 4 of them. And how crazy does this get? I mentioned this yesterday about a UK man who was arrested simply for being in a photo with weapons. Legally.
This is probably one of the dumbest arrests that's ever came out of my country, and that's coming from me. I literally covered dumb arrests, like stupid authoritarian overreach arrests all up and down the country, which we get a lot of. In fact, we've got 2 of them coming out on the second channel just today, right? But we've got this one, UK police.
Sorry, it's really fuzzy.
Arrest a man for posing with a gun in the United States. Elon Musk furious because this is the India Times, because I'm not giving the Telegraph money. A British IT consultant was arrested after posting a photograph of himself holding a gun during a holiday in the United States, a case that later drew sharp criticism from Elon Musk. John Richelieu Booth, at 50, from West Yorkshire, said he was shot after police visited and later detained him over the image, which he says was taken legally on private property in Florida. So basically, because this happened in America, where they have these things called rights, right? We had them once, we lost them because, funny enough, they took our guns away. One little mass shooting and we got rid of all of our guns, and then hey-ho, all our rights went with it. It's funny how that happens. But basically, he was over in America and was the first, when in Rome. I did the exact same thing. When I was over in America. I went to a shooting range. I went to a gun range, and I had a fucking great time. I'll save it for the end. Richelieu Booth posted the photo on LinkedIn on 13th August as part of a longer message about his day and work activities. He said West Yorkshire Police later visited his home. Fuck off, OneDrive. He said West Yorkshire Police later visited his home, advising him to be careful about what he posted online. The police love saying that. Be careful, citizen. We are watching.
Be careful of what you're posting online. Isn't that it, eh? Controlling. Now remember, this is in the UK, right? So Bill C9 wants to bring in the same kind of laws that they have in the UK pretty well to Canada, whereby you'll be getting visits from cops like this. Oh, you posted something online that may have upset somebody, might even upset somebody. That's why we're visiting you, just to give you a warning. Yeah, just to give you a warning. Meanwhile, in UK, you got violence and rapes and all this stuff happening, and they can't seem to even investigate break-ins. Whoa, but they're right on visiting people for non-hate crime incidences. And it looks like the House might be starting very shortly. Yes, it is. I'm just keeping an eye here. Now, freedom of speech. It's very important, or as we call it in Canada, freedom of expression, which the way Andrew Lawton described it the other day means that, it kind of encompasses everything we do in regards to the freedom of expressing ourselves, which is not just necessarily with our speech, but maybe with our art, our writing, our paintings, our coloring, our actions, dance interpretation, who knows, right? Which is why here you have Ahmed El Bayoumi says, University of Toronto Mississauga's Muslim Student Association, the MSA, known for its ties with the Muslim Brotherhood, has sent a legal letter to Energy Minister Stephen Leachy, who called them a hateful, anti-Semitic, and morally degenerate group, calling for a retraction and apology. Oh, really? And of course, they're upset by this. Leachy, according to a group's lawyer, has until January 6th to respond before they consider legal action against him. And why did he say this? Well, apparently it was because of this, because they put this poster out. And here's Stephen Leachy saying, honoring the very terrorists who murdered innocent victims on October 7th, the 2-year anniversary of the largest attack on Jews since the Holocaust, is twisted, offensive, and un-Canadian. It's beyond appalling to think that this morally degenerate group will blah, 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 right? And of course, they're upsetting Leachy, according to the group's lawyer, to apologize. Yeah, if you're celebrating people you call martyrs, and because they're sole mission in his life was to kill Jews, that's pretty despicable. I don't see where Leachy was wrong. And according to standard Western values, it's known that in the land of Palestine, right, that's controlled by Hamas or the PLO on the other side, have been paying off the families of the martyrs, giving them a pension for life if they go out and kill Jews and suicide themselves. It looks like the House is starting, so let's get into that. Let's bring up the House. And no, she's still talking. Oh, I guess he is.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canadians deserve nutritious food that's affordable and excellent. But unfortunately, this isn't the case after 10 years of these Liberals. Let's look at today's facts that have come to light. The Canada Food Price Report expects a family of four to spend up to $17,600 more, an increase of $995 a year, almost a double since the Liberals came to power. When will the Liberals abolish the tax and the inflationary spending that are driving up grocery prices? The Honourable Member. First, Mr. Speaker, the industrial carbon price does not apply to farmers. So they are taking imaginary cases that don't apply here. But if they want to talk about the food price report that was published today, what they said was that what will apply and that will have a cost on the price of groceries is climate change. I'd like to know if they're ready to fight against climate change. That party doesn't have a plan, and they're fighting against Canada and not against climate change.
The Opposition.
Let's analyze the weekly spending for groceries. According to today's report data, in 2015, the years when the Liberals came to power, the average Canadian family spent $163 a week on groceries. Today, next year rather, it'll be $340 a week, the double. The government's costs have driven up grocery prices. When will they abolish taxes? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, once again, they're just talking about imaginary taxes from the Leader of the Opposition. Systematically, this leader votes against food school programs. They vote against the Canada Child Benefit. They vote against dental care. They vote against pharmacare, things that help people who are in need in Canada. We are making these proposals, and they are opposed to them.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Hardworking Canadians deserve affordable, nutritious, and delicious food. Meat and potatoes on the dinner table every single night. But after a decade of this Liberal government, the cost of groceries has literally doubled. Today, the food price report shows that Canadians will spend $17,600 to feed a family of four next year. Double what it was when the Liberals took office, and $995 than the preceding year after the Prime Minister promised to be judged by the price at the grocery store. Will the Prime Minister reverse his inflationary taxes on food?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, another example of the opposition using a report without actually taking the time to read it. In fact, beef, one of the prices that's going up most dramatically, is directly linked to climate change. In fact, the report says that challenges persisted for producers throughout the year in Western Canada as they experienced a drought and input costs like feed rose. Mr. Speaker, we're focused on how to help Canadians. That's why today I was with Ontario signing the child care agreement and will save families $10,400 a year.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This is the point in any Liberal term when they go from making promises to making excuses. The Prime Minister promised that he'd be judged by the prices at the grocery store. And let's look at those prices on a weekly basis. Today's report gives out data that shows that back when the Liberals took office in 2015, it was $163 a week to afford groceries for a family of 4. Now it's $340, literally double. Liberal taxes on farmers, fertilizers, food processors, and packaging have all driven up the cost of food. Will they reverse these Liberal taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Speaker, instead of focusing on imaginary taxes, we're working to control the things we can, which is putting more money in the pockets of Canadians, Mr. Speaker. That's how you help Canadians with affordability challenges. You make sure they have the money so that they can adjust to whatever happens in the market. You'd think Conservatives would understand market pressures. It's clear they don't. Mr. Speaker, today we signed with Ontario an extension of the Early Learning and Childcare Program. Mr. Speaker, $10,400 per family on average. Do you know how many weeks of food that is? At least 63 if they're cost.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Children cannot eat agreements or photo ops or promises. If any of these costly promises Liberals were making actually were real, then you wouldn't have seen the number of kids reliant on food banks doubled to 700,000 kids in the last 5 years. Today, a report from Dalhousie proves that the weekly grocery bill of a family of 4 has doubled to $340 a year. That's the result. So will they finally reverse the Liberal taxes that are driving up food?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, time and time again, the members opposite say no to Canadians, say no to supporting Canadians. We have a Canada Child Benefit that supports young families. It's indexed to inflation. It isn't taxed. It is something that they voted against. Time and time again, we'll be there to fight for Canadians. And if he wants to talk about imaginary taxes, that's only an imaginary argument. We're doing the real work to support families.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the industrial carbon tax is not only real, it was in the Prime Minister's own budget that he wants to increase it. It's a tax on the steel that goes into farm equipment, the fertilizer that goes into farm fields, the equipment that goes into food processors. Then there's the tax on food packaging. By banning plastics, they're making food go bad earlier and costing an extra $1 billion, all of which is passed on. And finally, a $78 billion deficit is inflating the cost of everything. Wow. So instead of doubling the cost of food, why won't they scrap the taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Speaker, it's clear the member of the opposition has not read the report because, in fact, the report predicts that inflation is actually going to stabilize and go down. So here's what we're doing on this side, Mr. Speaker. We're putting money in the pockets of Canadians, whether it's through the Canada Child Benefit, which, oh, by the way, is indexed to inflation and that they voted against, whether it's affordable child care, Mr. Speaker, for families with growing children, helping them save money for down payment on a house, which they say is a goal they have, but they voted against, or whether it's for school food programs for those families that need an extra hand. We're here for Canadians in good times and bad. It's pretty clear where they stand for themselves.
The Honourable Member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, we thought that the Liberals had finally agreed to remove from the criminal code the exemption that allows incitement to hatred under the guise of religion. But today we learned this is far from the case. Just as we're beginning to debate the Bloc's amendment to repeal the religious exemption, the Liberals tell us that they want to cancel all meetings of the Justice Committee until 2026. Clearly, they are afraid to adopt the Bloc's amendment. Clearly, they are bowing to religious lobbies. Will they pull themselves together and abolish the religious exemption?
I had no idea they rescheduled it till next year. That's
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice. Please, silence. Mr. Speaker, we are ready to do the work. We started last Tuesday to do a clause-by-clause study, and we're going to continue to work hard on this file. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, religion should never be an excuse for committing crimes, including incitement to hatred. Ending the religious exemption that allows this abuse is a unanimous request from the National Assembly of Quebec, but the Liberals are still abandoning the will of Quebecers to bow to the will of a handful of dogmatic religious leaders. Tolerating this type of speech is not respecting freedom of religion or freedom of expression. It's even less about being open to diversity. It is about being cowardly in the face of violence. Will the Liberals get their act together? The Honourable Minister. Speaking of freedom, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask a question that is very relevant with respect to today's news. At the Bloc, like their leader in Quebec, do they think that Quebec artists lack loyalty to the Quebec nation? May they answer the question yes or no? The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, we knew that the Conservatives would side with extremist preachers because they are the official party of the religious right. But it's appalling to see the Liberals abandon Quebecers, Canadians, and their fundamental principles. Principles such as equality before the law when it comes to crimes, principles such as gender equality, the rights of sexual minorities, the maintenance of social peace, etc. All because they're on their knees before the various religious right-wing groups. Will they stand up, get their stuff together, and immediately reconvene the Justice Committee to abolish the religious exception? The Honourable Minister. I understand, Mr. Speaker, that the Bloc wants to divert our attention, but if we invest historical amounts in culture, it's not to gain the loyalty of artists. It's for them to thrive themselves and have their expression. Investment in culture could neutralize artists in their view, and it shows the disdain they have in Quebec for their artists. Neither the Bloc leader or they have the right to judge other Quebecers about their loyalty to Quebec.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
The Prime Minister told Canadians he should be judged by the price of food at the grocery store. Well, the verdict is in, and the Liberals have failed. Canada's food $1,000 more on groceries next year, the highest increase in years. When the Liberals took office, the average weekly food bill was about $160. In a decade, it has more than doubled to $340 a week. Will the Prime Minister, why is he breaking his promises to Canadians and increasing taxes on farmers, on food and fuel?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we've done more for affordability in 6 months than that leader and that party have done in 20 years. We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've cut the tax for first-time homebuyers. We've cut the consumer carbon tax, automatic federal benefits, school food program. The list goes on and on. They opposed it all. With that leader, it's the same old tired rhetoric again and again. On this side, we're getting things done for Canadians. Thank you.
Member for Foothills.
Well, I think Canadians will have a very different point of view. They know these food increases, as a result of that was in this report, are a direct result of the Liberals' industrial carbon tax, fuel tax, and inflationary spending. The Prime Minister himself said he should be judged by the price of food. By his own metrics, he has failed. When the Liberals came to office, the annual food budget was about $8,300 a year. In a decade, it has doubled to $17,500 a year. Will the Prime Minister get rid of his taxes on food so Canadians can afford a Christmas dinner?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, that member, that leader and his party need to look in the mirror. They have voted against every affordability measure we have brought forward. Let's talk about automatic federal benefits. Benefits for 5.5 million Canadians, getting benefits to those that need it the most. Did they support it? No, of course they didn't support it. They have not supported one affordability measure we have put forth since we've come into government. It's time for them to look in the mirror, get real, support our programs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Newt-Tecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, where's the beef? That's what Canadians are asking as food prices keep rising. This Prime Minister told Canadians, he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store. And yet 86% of Canadians say they are cutting back on meat because they simply can't afford it. The Liberals' industrial carbon tax and inflationary deficits are driving up the price Canadians pay at the checkout line. Why is this Liberal government making it even harder for people to afford food?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
There's no taxes on food. And look, food's too expensive. That's a fact, but I've got some other facts for the member. One, the #1 driver of food cost inflation is climate change, something those Conservatives will never say. Two, industrial carbon pricing applies to goods sold on international markets, and they're not passed on to consumers. Three, industrial carbon systems impact household expenses by 0%, Mr. Speaker. Here's some ideas of ways the Conservatives can actually help Canadians. Vote in favour of dental care. Vote in favour of national school food programs, vote in favour of affordable housing, or vote in favour of $10 a day childcare that we just signed with Ontario, Mr. Speaker. Try and help a Canadian for once.
The Honourable Member for Newtecumseh, Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, that answer was all bun, no patty. Said nothing of substance to Canadians who can afford groceries. Because of Liberal policies, next year a family of 4 can expect to pay nearly $1,000 more. On food, food prices could rise 6% next year, with meat expected to see the biggest price hike. The Liberals are refusing to act to lower food costs. The beef's already gone, so what does that minister think Canadians should cut back on next?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, I've got a lot of respect for that member, and I've been to his riding, and I know the farmers in his riding very well, and they know that industrial carbon pricing doesn't affect the cost of food in Canada. He should spend more time talking to those farmers, Mr. Speaker. But if he wants something to put on his hot dog, here's 4 things. Dental care for Canadians, $10 a day child care for young kids, a national school food program to feed the kids in his riding. Mr. Speaker, affordable housing goes great on a hot dog. Put that on your hamburger.
Again, through the chair, the Honourable Member for Long Range Mountains.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister told Canadians he should be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Canadians are now paying 112% more for food than when the Liberals took office, and groceries are consuming a bigger share of every family's budget. Even basic centre aisle staples, such as coffee and baby formula, are skyrocketing. Canada's food price report confirms that next year, Canadians will pay an extra $1,000 on groceries. When will these Liberals finally stop their inflationary spending, scrap the industrial carbon tax, and let Canadians afford groceries again?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Mr. Speaker, instead of repeating the same canned lines, I would ask this member from Newfoundland and Labrador, Conservative member, to think about what she voted against. $10 a day childcare, food for kids in schools, something that her colleague called garbage, dental care, this family benefit. 46,000 families in our riding take advantage of this. I ask her to start to work for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians.
Honourable Member for Long Range Mountains.
Mr. Speaker, a local single mom of 3 reached out to me today in complete desperation. She's working hard, doing everything right, yet a series of setbacks has pushed her to the brink. She's falling behind on the basics. Now she's trying to figure out how to give her kids Christmas, while food inflation makes the essentials feel out of reach. Families shouldn't have to choose between groceries and giving their children a holiday. When will the Prime Minister finally take this seriously and make life affordable for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Mr. Speaker, I would say to the mom in the member's riding, please ask your member to vote for childcare.
That's an idea.
Dental care.
That's an
School
idea.
nutrition program. A family of 2 can save $800
a year. Support the inflation index, Canada Child Benefit. 46,000 families need that support. Housing supports, and on I can go. These are tangible affordability measures. I will never politicize the struggles of moms in my province.
The honourable member for King Vaughan.
The Prime Minister told Canadians he should be judged by the prices at the grocery stores. Under their watch, the weekly...
Liberals don't like the bosses.
You stand up.
The member can continue. It's fine.
The Prime Minister told Canadians he should be judged by the price at the grocery store. Under their watch, the weekly grocery bill has doubled, and the food price report of 2026 says it will get even worse. Families in my community can't even afford a healthy meal, not even the modest Italian dish like pasta fagioli. Yet, this government keeps stirring the pot with higher spending, the industrial carbon tax, and the new fuel tax. What's the matter for you?
Everything's quite all right. Again, through the chair. I know it doesn't pack the same punch, but through the chair. The honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, those Conservatives clearly can talk until the cows come home, but they're all hat and no cattle. When their own platform had nothing in it for food affordability, did they vote to put money in the jeans of Canadians? No. Did they vote for the National School Food Program? No. Did they vote for old age security? No. Did they vote for the Canada Child Care Benefit? No. Did they vote for the disability benefit? No. There you have it, Mr. Speaker.
They didn't have it in their platform because under Conservatives, people can afford their own fucking food.
Mr. Speaker, Radio Canada has revealed that the no side is reforming. The Liberals are wondering how to respond to a possible third referendum in Quebec. Well, here are some ideas. Don't betray Quebecers by abandoning the fight against climate change. Don't threaten a province with imposing a pipeline on it. Don't dismiss all of Quebec's requests on the budget. Don't turn the Quebec Liberal Party into a federal training club. Before even coming up with the arguments for the no side, have the Liberals, these world champions, considered that they could stop adding arguments to the yes side. The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, do you know what they're not talking about in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean this morning? They're not talking about the obsession with the referendum. They're not talking about the separation, the division, about the squabbles in our society. They are worried about what? Their jobs, building our country, taking care of their kids, putting food on the table, and paying their mortgage, Mr. Speaker. What our party is concerned with. They are trying to divide and separate people. We are focused on jobs and the economy. The Honourable Member for Drummond. The Government House Leader should perhaps go to Lac-Saint-Jean. Yes, they are talking about building a country, but yeah, the country of Quebec. So here's some more suggestions for the no camp. The federal government could respect Quebec's laws, such as state secularism or the Charter of the French language. They could fight against the decline of French in Quebec instead of funding its Anglicization. It could transfer immigration powers to Quebec. It could stop meddling in Quebec's areas of jurisdiction. There's a long list because we have the same issue since the 1980s. Nothing's changed. Is there someone who really still thinks that things will change today? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Throughout the last election campaign, the Bloc didn't propose anything. They just said if it's good for Quebec, we'll vote for it. If it's not, we won't. But now, when they have the opportunity to vote for a good budget for Quebec that sets out $4 billion for Hydro-Quebec, investing in their infrastructure with historic investments in culture, they voted against it. And even worse, when they had the opportunity to present their requests, there was absolutely nothing on culture. That's a shame. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Aubinière. This Prime Minister, who has accomplished nothing since he took office, but has inflated spending, he said, Canadians will judge me on the cost of groceries. Well, the time for judgment has come, and the cost of food will rise at an unprecedented rate next year, according to the annual report. Average family paid $159 a week on groceries when the Liberals came to power in 2015. 10 years later, the bill has almost doubled to $340 a week. When will the Prime Minister stop his inflationary spending so that Canadians can eat their fill? Thank you. The Honourable Government House Leader. Once again, Mr. Speaker, I would challenge my colleague or any of his groups of colleagues to explain what inflationary spending is for them. Is it the school food program? Is it dental care? Is it investment in jobs, in renewable energy? What is inflationary spending for them? We're still wondering, and the colleague doesn't seem to know what it is. I would ask him to explain it to the House and to all Canadians. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Aubinière. It seems to be hurting them when we say that their own Prime Minister said this. I didn't say it. The Prime Minister said, "You will judge me on the cost of groceries." Well, the time for judgment has come. The average family will pay an extra $1,000 more next year, an extra $340 a week, twice what it was 10 years ago. He has been judged. He's lost. Now he needs to accept the verdict and put an end to his inflationary spending so that families can eat properly. The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, perhaps let's turn things around. I can explain to him what important spending is. For us, it is spending that leads to job creation, spending that leads to single-parent families to have a child at daycare who will be fed through a school food program. And important spending for us is something that gives dignity, a job, an opportunity, a future to young Canadians. That's what important spending is for us, and they call that inflationary spending because they would cut all of that spending.
Member for Richmond Athabasca. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals find it funny that we're reminding everyone of the Prime Minister's promise that he could be judged based on the price of groceries. But their record is a failure. Canadians have seen no results. And why? Well, because it's the same old Liberal recipe, and they're expecting a different result. I don't know if the Prime Minister has ever done his own groceries, but the fact is that for many Canadians, it's a struggle. And they don't expect the Prime Minister to produce any results because he says, who cares? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives keep talking about inflationary spending, but when we ask them what that means, they can't answer. For example, during the campaign, we asked, would it be the dental care program that covers 1 million Quebecers? And all they say is the program doesn't exist. But I can guarantee that in his riding, there are thousands of his constituents that have been able to see the dentist for the first time in years, thanks to that project. Is that inflationary spending in his mind? The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
Prime Minister wanted to be judged by the prices at the grocery store, and 8 months later, Canadians are judging and they're hungry. The food price report released today shows that the reality of Canadians is only getting worse. In 2015, the Canadian grocery store was $163 a week. Under these Liberals, it has more than doubled to $340. That's a grocery bill of $17,600 a year. Liberal taxes increase the cost of growing, transporting, and selling the food. When will these Liberals cut their inflationary spending and senseless taxes so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Conservatives say they care about affordability, but their voting record says something very different. The Conservatives vote against every measure designed to help Canadian families, Mr. Speaker. Let's take one example. One example. Parents receive a payment every month called the Canada Child Benefit. Real help with groceries, real help with clothing, real help with the everyday costs of raising children in this country, Mr. Speaker, and they voted against it every time. It's crazy. That's saying one thing and doing another. That's the Conservative Party.
Member for Newmarket Aurora.
When Canadians tell this government that they can't afford food, their response is, well, you're taxed to death, you can't afford groceries, but cheer up, we have a program for you, you should be grateful, and you've never had it so good. 86% of Canadians list food as their largest financial worry. The food price report confirms grocery prices are set to increase up to 6% next year. That's $1,000 more just to feed a family. The Prime Minister asked to be judged by the prices at the grocery store while prices are set to reach historic highs. Will the Prime Minister admit his record is a failure?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, we'll stand by our record every day in this House of Commons. Mr. Speaker, they're the ones who have to be embarrassed about their record, their track record of voting against dental care, which is putting the money in pockets of real Canadians. The Canada Child Benefit, Mr. Speaker, a tax cut. Mr. Speaker, they voted against all of it. Building Canada homes, reducing the cost of homes, automatic tax filing so people get real benefits, Mr. Speaker. That's their record. That's what they have to stand behind.
Honourable Member for Winnipeg South.
Mr. Speaker, this week the Assembly of First Nations met here in Ottawa to advance economic sovereignty. And ministers from our government were at the table because reconciliation requires real partnership and real results. Can the Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs outline how our government is turning commitments like Section 35 and the duty to consult into action, ensuring First Nations are not just consulted, but leading major projects and driving prosperity across the North?
Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, the Assembly of First Nations met in Ottawa, and many of us here were at the table with them. That shows that we're moving along together with First Nations. We are backing Indigenous-led growth and solutions. That's why more than half of Canada's economic activity is being Indigenous-led. We're creating hundreds of jobs right now, like those at the First Casca construction in Yukon. Our government is also ensuring that Section 35 of the Constitution is fully respected. We are ensuring that First Nations are not just consulted, but that they're co-owners of major projects.
The honourable member from Montmorency, Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister asked Canadians to judge him based on grocery prices, and what we can see is that not only is he failing to keep his promise, he's failing miserably. His policies are impoverishing Canadians, but serving his friends and interests. When the Liberals came to power in 2015, the grocery bill was $159 per week. 10 years later, it has more than doubled to $338, or $17,500 per year. When will the Liberals finally stop their inflationary spending so Canadians can feed themselves and live decently? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, you know Quebecers elected 44 Quebec Liberal members to deal with the economy in the face of the American tariffs. And what they've seen is that our plan is working. Our GDP has grown by 3.2%. Inflation's under control at 2.2%. 60,000 jobs were created and more in October. We have the highest growth rate in the G7. There's more to be done, and we know it, but we are going to make the economy grow while protecting our way of life. The honourable member for Montmorency, Charlevoix. The latest food price report 2026 shows that while 2025 was tough, next year will be even worse. Families will spend 112% more on food than 10 years ago. 2.2 million Canadians are using food banks every month. 86% are eating less meat because of prices. Families will have to pay $1,000 more for food, the largest annual increase in Canadian history. Meanwhile, food inflation in Canada is rising 48% faster than in the U.S. Why won't the Prime Minister scrap his taxes on food so Canadians can finally afford to eat healthy food? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, my colleague is willfully blind because he's just cherry-picking figures. The fact is, inflation is down. It's at 2.2%, and it's also a fact that wages are increasing by 3.3%. So, of course, people have more money to pay for the cost of living. At the same time, what we're doing as a government is we are building a strong social safety net. We have various programs, including for school food. We will be there for Quebecers all across the province.
Honourable member for Cambridge.
Speaker, the prices at the grocery store was how the Prime Minister was to be judged. From Trudeau's crisis to this rebranded, not-so-new Liberal cabinet, Canadians are seeing costs go from bad to worse. Today's food price report shows that Canadians are bracing for the largest grocery increase in years, nearly $1,000 more. Under a decade of these Liberals, families gone from spending $159 a week on groceries to $338. That's more than $17,500 a year. Families are stretched to the limit, and so are food banks. When will this government rein in its inflationary spending, cut the costs it piles onto farmers, truckers, and processors so Canadians can afford to eat?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretaries of State for Labour, for Seniors and for Children and Youth.
Mr. Speaker, a national school food program that's going to save parents up to $800 a year, a dental care program, a tax cut for 22 million Canadians, early learning and child care, a Canada Child benefit. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition stood up in this House today and called these costly promises. Members opposite call these photo ops. They call them garbage. They call them socialist programs. Mr. Speaker, this is a case of saying the quiet part out loud. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. Canadians know who's fighting for them.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Their programs don't feed seniors. When Liberals claim their taxes are imaginary, I think of a senior woman in my community, one who told me she can barely afford to eat and that someday she wishes she simply wouldn't wake up because living in this indignity is harder than dying. That is what 10 years of soaring food prices and punishing taxes have done to Canadians. Not imaginary, real. Not theoretical, human. Families are being crushed by fuel costs, fertilizer costs, and the industrial carbon tax. And yet the Prime Minister looks at Canadians suffering the same way he looks at Brookfield balance sheets, as numbers, not people. When will the Prime Minister prioritise making food affordable?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, when I talk to seniors in my riding, they talk to me about the Canadian Dental Care Program. They say that this is life-changing, that this is getting them the dental care that they haven't had for years for the first time. They talk to me about the New Horizons program and how we're supporting projects that improve their quality of life. They talk to me about the $5 billion that Budget 2025 is putting into new hospital infrastructure and urgent care. Mr. Speaker, the member opposite is spewing nonsense, and if she wants to stand up for seniors, she should have voted for the budget when she had the chance.
The honourable member for Brandon-Souris.
When the Liberals came to office in 2015, the average Canadian grocery bill was $160 a week. A decade later, it has more than doubled to $338 a week. That's $17,500 a year. And next year's food price report confirms Canadians will pay another $1,000 more, the largest annual increase ever. Yet instead of axing taxes and spending that increase the cost of growing, transporting and selling food, these Liberals actually raised them in Budget 2025. When are the Liberals going to read the room and get prices down so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, that member opposite is from my home community. If he was talking to Manitobans, he would know that they want $10 a day daycare. They want the school food program. They want investments in housing and infrastructure. So if he was talking to Manitobans, he would know that Manitobans support our budget. He should be supporting our budget as well. These are generational investments like never before. He needs to get on side.
You're here. The honourable member for Brandon-Souris.
I I'd invite the minister to get outside the perimeter highway in Winnipeg every once in a while and come and tour communities in Manitoba. Here's a few facts for her. Families in Manitoba are being squeezed harder than ever thanks to her Liberal government. With Harvest Manitoba reporting today, 60,000 Manitobans a month are accessing food banks, and almost 50% of them are families with young children. A record for that minister to be proud of. Canadians don't need handouts fueling dependence on government-bloated programs. They need affordable groceries on their kitchen tables. When is she going to get out of the way and deliver that for Manitobans?
Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there you have it. Handouts, dependence, talking about school food programs, talking about child care, trying to lecture my colleague from Churchill about not getting out enough. That member needs to talk to more single mothers. That member needs to talk to more young people, more skilled workers, more aluminum workers, more steel workers, more auto workers, about supporting it, about the government standing up and supporting and building this country. That member needs to get out.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Stellantis is investing $13 billion of their own dollars into the United States to create 5,000 auto jobs. Meanwhile, this Liberal government gave Stellantis $15 billion taxpayer dollars, and they fired 3,000 auto workers. Let that sink in for a minute. This is what happens when incompetent Liberal ministers don't read contracts. And this isn't an investment. This is a corporate ripoff. They took $15 billion and fired the workers. How does this incompetent minister sleep at night?
Good question. How?
Honorable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Honorable Minister of Industry.
Speaker, we take very seriously when it comes to investing taxpayers' money. And when it comes to Stellantis, we had a deal. They broke it. And we'll make sure that we get our money back. Period.
Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
So, unlike that minister, I've actually read the contracts. And if she actually had a legal case to do anything about the 3,000 workers that got fired in exchange for $15 billion, they would have sued. But guess what? They haven't. And you know why, Mr. Speaker? And all Canadians should know the extent of the incompetence of this Liberal government. The jobs guarantee in those contracts are not worth the paper they're written on. If I drafted that as a first-year law student, I would have got an F. How does this minister stand here and defend this terrible contract?
Honorable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have no lesson to take from the Conservative. In 2009, when the Harper government decided to bail out and shake hands, GM and Chrysler at the time, they gave $28 billion of Canadian taxpayers' money without no job guarantee. You know what happened, Mr. Speaker? 2 GM plants closed, one in Oshawa, another in Windsor. One Ford assembly plant closed as well, and one Orion bus plant closed in Mississauga. This is their record. We're creating jobs, and we're fighting for them.
The honourable member for Simcoe North.
Speaker, the Liberals committed $15 billion to Stellantis, only to have them ship 3,000 jobs south of the border. In fact, just in the White House yesterday, Stellantis says they're investing $13 billion in the U.S. to create 5,000 jobs. Every time this government makes a deal, it seems like executives get taken care of while employees get overlooked. When will this Liberal government prioritize jobs for Canadians instead of corporate welfare for executives?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, speaking of jobs, we are focused on creating jobs for the good workers in Brampton across Ontario. The Prime Minister committed $2 billion to build small modular reactors in Ontario, a project that will create 18,000 jobs in Ontario and help build Canada as an energy superpower. You look at the opportunities we're creating through nuclear exports, a sector valued to create 90,000 jobs and 250 businesses in Ontario, Mr. Speaker. We remain relentlessly focused on creating jobs in nuclear, in energy across Ontario, in communities, including Brampton. Thank you.
Honourable member for Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, for over 3 years, Ukrainians have fought valiantly against Russia's illegal and brutal invasion, defending not just their homeland, but the principle that borders must not be changed by force and that every nation has a right to determine its own future. Canada has stood with Ukraine from day one, and now more than ever, they need our support on the battlefield, where it matters most. Can the Minister of National Defence update this House on the latest steps Canada is taking to ensure that Ukraine has what it needs to win?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, this week we announced our purchase of a package of critical military capability under NATO's Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PEARL, in partnership with other NATO allies. Our $200 million contribution to this PEARL package will include capabilities that have been specifically identified by Ukraine as their urgent requirements to support their defense against Russia's aggression and war. Mr. Speaker, make no mistake, Canada will stand with Ukraine until victory.
The member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, last year over half the people who became Canadian citizens did so by clicking a box online. That is crazy. There's no justification for this. In-person citizen ceremonies are essential unifying bedrock of Canada's civic life, Mr. Speaker. Swearing the oath of citizenship in front of an official should be upheld as an integral part of committing to the responsibilities that come with being Canadian. Will the minister immediately end one-click virtual citizenship ceremonies?
Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for that question. I respect that member, and I know he knows that that's not correct. I know that he recognizes that we have a robust system in this country, that there is no such thing as that one system, that we have multiple layers, and when it comes to citizenship ceremonies,
It's a duo.
there is no such thing as that. There is multiple layers of defense. When somebody is coming out of port of entry, 100% of those people spend considerable time with border service. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Knowles Hill.
So the minister completely didn't answer to the question. She didn't listen to it. My colleague asked why she was allowing one-click citizenship ceremonies, which, to repeat a famous line in the House, we found on your website. People get their citizenship by doing a virtual ceremony and clicking a box. That's what we're talking about here. This is I cannot believe she's still the minister. Will she end one-click virtual citizenship ceremony?
The Honourable Minister.
Say it's not. Mr. Speaker, here's the facts. Okay, virtual citizenship ceremony were started during the time of the pandemic. We all know during COVID, life shifted. Even in this parliament, we now have the voting app, for an example. So we're always looking for opportunities to celebrate our citizenship, to bring people together, to celebrate and build Canadian economy and make it strong, and we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Good job. Honourable Member for Calgary, Knowles Hill.
Last year, well after the pandemic, more than half of Canadian citizenships were conducted where? Online, by clicking a box. How does that unify Canadians? How does that imply and impart the responsibilities of being Canadian? She's standing up here and defending a post-national strategy. Will she end one-click virtual citizenship?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, I'm correcting the record for that member and those that are listening. Virtual citizenship ceremonies started during the pandemic. That is correct. There are still some that are happening. However, all new Canadians, while it is still being done under a secure, full-fledged citizenship ceremony with officials present. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Pickering, Brooklyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Cyclone
Typhoon Ditwa has devastated communities across Sri Lanka, causing severe flooding and landslides that has claimed over 465 lives and left hundreds more missing. Homes, infrastructure, and local economies have suffered serious damage, and communities across the country are struggling to deal with aftermath, especially in the northeast hill regions, which are already struggling due to poverty and war. Canada has always been known as a partner that we can count on in moments of hardship. Could the Secretary of State for International Development inform this House of
The Honourable Secretary of State for International Development.
Our hearts are with those affected by the devastating floods in Sri Lanka, which has declared a state of emergency. Mr. Speaker, in times of crisis, Canadians step up. And to support an urgent and immediate response, Canada is providing an initial $1 million in humanitarian aid to help the Red Cross, the Humanitarian Coalition, and other partners deliver life-saving relief. This means emergency shelter, water, health services, and other essentials to the most affected, and builds on support Canada's already provided through the World Food Programme's emergency response. We're closely following developments across the region and will continue to stand with communities facing the impacts of danger.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Chair of the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Yesterday, the Liberals got up in question period and accused Conservatives of obstructing work on Liberal Bill C9, which takes aim at religious freedom and freedom of expression. The Liberals said they wanted to conduct clause-by-clause review today, but this morning, the Liberal Chair cancelled the meeting, obstructing the Liberal government's own agenda and denying our right as legislators to do our work. Why did the Chair cancel the meeting, and will he commit to calling our scheduled meeting on Tuesday so we can get to work?
The Honourable Member for Lakeshore, Etobicoke Lakeshore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I became chair of the Justice Committee just 2 short days ago, and I'm honored to take that responsibility, and I take it very seriously. Look, it became very apparent to me quickly that the committee was having a great deal of trouble. Emotions were running high, and they didn't have a path forward to deal with some very important legislation that was before the committee. So acting in the best interest of the committee members, the members of this House, and the members of the public who want this bill to pass, I decided to cancel the meeting so the members could regroup to find a path forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, enough. The Honourable Member for Brantford South. The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
Options for housing in Nunavut are limited. Mold leads to chronic illness, overcrowding.
Well, the Honourable Member for Nunavut may start from the top if she wishes.
Options for housing in Nunavut are limited. Mold leads to chronic illness. Overcrowding leads to abuse of women already in unsafe conditions. There are 37,000 families, there are 3,700 families on the waiting list according to Nunavut Housing Corporation. Even once these houses are built, it will cost over $3 billion to maintain them. This government has only promised 700 new homes. Why aren't the Liberals fully funding Nunavut to meet the urgent housing need?
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, our new government is delivering on its commitments. We are dedicating $2.3 billion to urban, rural, northern homes. We're also partnering to deliver over 700 new homes and fast-tracking them. We're also building on 450 additional homes that will start in the next few years. In the Northwest Territories, we're funding 150 social homes, and in Whitehorse, 100 new affordable homes. This is just the beginning, Mr. Speaker, because we're delivering on the 3,000 homes by 2030. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Some might call it a flip-flop, but a flip-flop is a sandal, and this is a betrayal. On page 348 of the budget, it says clearly that investment tax credits will not be available for enhanced oil recovery. Yet in the Memorandum of Understanding with the province of Alberta, it says it will extend federal investment tax credits to various parts of carbon capture and storage, including enhanced oil recovery. My question to the Minister of Finance is, with this additional handout to big oil, have they recalculated how deep the deficit will be? How much above $78 billion is it now?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Memorandum of Understanding with Alberta, which provides many opportunities for us to move forward on industrial carbon pricing and on clean electricity, on building interties with neighbouring provinces. All steps that are incredibly important for us as we try and build a clean economy and build our country strong for the future. So I thank you for the question. We will keep on working to build a strong Canada going forward.
Rising on a point of order, the Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, earlier this week, you clearly established your right to cut questions before the end of the questions if they were not related to government business. But today, not once, not twice, but thrice, a government response had, not only did it have nothing to do with the question, but it had nothing to do with the work of Parliament. This is a way to instrumentalize the work of the House. This is an insult to our democratic institutions, especially the House, and it's also an insult to the intelligence of Canadians. I would ask you to please clarify whether it's acceptable to say just about anything during the question period. And I'll quote from the Rules of Procedure, Chapter 11.11. Answers to oral questions must usually be as brief as possible. They must relate to the question asked, and they must not provoke disorder in the House. A statement was made in 1975 during question period saying that many types of answers are possible. Ministers can answer the question, take the question under advisement. They can explain briefly why they cannot answer the question at this point in time, or they can choose not to answer. Nowhere is it written that an answer may have nothing to do with the work of this House. Thus, I ask you, please, to clarify that if questions must relate to the work of the House, shouldn't the same go for answers? The Honourable Government House Leader, rising on the same point of order. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois leader said federal money for culture in Quebec is used to shut up independentists or to silence them. If he says that in the House, then he should own it. The Bloc Québécois has to own what they're saying. It may then become subject to debate. The Bloc seems to be affected by the same condition that afflicts Conservatives, that is questions without reflection. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we will always respond to relevant questions. I will give this some thought. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-Lérable-Lotbinière. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rose on this same point of order last week. I asked you to allow our member to continue asking his questions because he had 15 seconds remaining. He was, of course, going to ask a question about government business. Thus, I feel that my Bloc Québécois colleague's argument is justified. What is unjustified and has nothing to do with the point of order is the gratuitous act that the House leader just made. Mr. Speaker, you allowed him to engage in unjustified attack with no context. Now, of course, we can ask questions. That is our right, and we represent constituents. He, Mr. Speaker, does not have the right to decide on our rights in this place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We will reflect on all that has been said. We will come back to the House with a ruling on this point of order.
L'honorable député de Mégantic.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, we know that Canadians today are worried about the rising prices of food after 10 years of Liberal governance, but they don't see the chaos going on right here in the House of Commons and especially in parliamentary committees. Ministers don't show up, committees are being cancelled at the last minute, and we saw this again today. Is this the Thursday question? All right, well, I wasn't done with what I was saying, so I will come back to the member. I will come back to the member because I have a ruling to read regarding a point of order raised yesterday.
Back to the House on a point of order raised yesterday by the member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna, concerning whether quoting from a document or book during an intervention in the House violates our rule against using props during debate. House of Commons Procedure and Practice, 4th edition, section 13.26 notes, quote, props of any kind have always been found to be unacceptable in the chamber, especially when they cause disorder, unquote. La même section indique également, et je cite,
the same section also states, I quote, moreover, speakers have consistently ruled that visual displays used by members to illustrate their remarks or emphasize their positions are out of order. For example, members may hold notes in their hands, but they will be interrupted and reprimanded by the Speaker if they use papers, documents, or other printed material to illustrate their remarks. Printed material that has been ruled out of order includes advertisements, newspapers, books, business cards, and money. End quote. We must clarify, though, about use of books, that it is generally acceptable to quote from books in order to support an argument or point being made by a member, especially when a member raises a point of order to flag to the chair a possible breach of House rules and procedure. However, it is unacceptable to brandy a book about or show it as a rhetorical device to support a point.
Be allowed to quote from a book when needed in the course of debate. The Chair would fully concur with this assertion, and the Chair confirms that members are allowed to quote from books so long as the same are not used to emphasize their position. Et là, on peut procéder à la question.
Now, we can move on to the Thursday question. I apologize for having interrupted the honourable member.
The Honourable Whip, Governor Whip.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you for that thorough response to the point of order that was raised yesterday. Just before that point of order was raised yesterday, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader also stood on a point of order, and you indicated that you would come back with a ruling on that if it is your meaning that you don't deem it to be necessary, or do you plan to do that?
No, I deem it not to be necessary because the honourable member for Winnipeg North raised the fact that the Leader of the Opposition was offside when he made a comment that alluded to the absence of the Prime Minister, and I took measure in response to that. I skipped over, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition lost a question, so I consider the matter closed, really.
Are you challenging the chair? Are you challenging the chair?
No, go ahead. The honourable member for Kingston and the Islands, the Chief Government.
With respect, Mr. Speaker, and I very much appreciate that response. With respect, and there was a lot of heckling going on at the time when the member was trying to give his point of order, so perhaps it didn't get in there. What the member from Winnipeg North was trying to ask of you is, what is the next step? Like, will you just continue to take away questions? Because our position on this, Mr. Speaker, is that when somebody is weighing the cost-benefit analysis and decides, yeah, it's okay to give away a question, because the gain that I get out of it by posting this on social media is going to outweigh that. Our question to you is, which he did do, which he did post. So our question to you is, what is the next step in this regard that you will take so that all members are aware ahead of time before you have to go down that road?
Well, we'll actually have to wait and see on that. It's a hypothetical situation, but I do consider it a major offside, and I don't think we should be. I won't be tolerating it going forward. L'honorable
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière with the Thursday question. Yes, Mr. Speaker, as I was noting earlier, Canadians are very...
Oh, that was a lot of points of order. Sometimes we get some, sometimes we don't, but we don't usually get that many. His last one there about whenever the House leader, sorry, not the House leader, the Conservative leader pointed out that the Prime Minister had left the room. You're not supposed to mention that anybody's not there. That's why even though if you're asking the Prime Minister a question, you get somebody else standing up. Usually it's because the Prime Minister's not there. Well, it used to be that way, but nowadays with Carney in the House, he just spreads the questions around because nobody's really answering the questions, which was a really good point of order brought up by the Bloc Québécois regarding about asking questions. Exactly. So I covered this last week when the House had denied a question to one of the Conservative members, not once, but twice, and then denied it a third time when he brought it up the second time when he had two questions. And then by the fourth time he asked a question, the Speaker actually allowed the question to be asked regarding a member of the Liberal side who had apparently allegedly broken the law, and they wanted some questions about that. It was government business questions, which if you go over oral questions, and at the time when I went over that list, it was just before they published a new fourth edition. Now, there hasn't been any changes when it comes to these regulations regarding oral questions. And you have to ask questions and I have to relate to government business, to minister's portfolio, something like that. And I had examples of like this clown right here that you're seeing on TV, Mr. Slimy McKinnon, who, instead of answering the last question asked, would bring out a sheet of paper and start talking about things that upset him that the Conservatives said and that maybe they should look within themselves and apologize for what they said. That kind of clown stuff. Right. So, and so it was a really good question that you brought up. It'd be nice if they actually even tried to answer some questions instead of constantly accusing the Conservatives of doing this and that, not voting for this and not voting for that. And, you can just tell there's always the same bloody answers. We gave you a lunch school program. We cut your taxes by $90 a year to make up for the extra $4,000 in increased taxes that we're going to charge you. But don't complain. We cut your stuff. We gave you free dental. Don't complain about that. It doesn't matter if you're in a food line. We're doing everything we can to fight the climate. Everybody needs to do their part. Oh, and sorry about the economy, but don't worry, we'll give you free teeth, even though you can't afford food. It's a real shite show. They have this post-national strategy. I love that what Michelle Rumpel brought up that particular phrase. I think I will use that in a future video if I have time, but probably not today because tomorrow morning there will be two shows, 9 o'clock with Blazing Cat Fur Fridays, where we do a cold read-through of his website for half an hour, and then we take an hour break, and then we're right back here at 10:30 because the House sits earlier on Fridays for the nap. Now, with all this talk about food and how food is more expensive these days, especially when it comes to beef, I do have the video in the outro, but I think we'll just show you where you can actually find it. So if you go to my Rumble site, and you can also go to my YouTube site, they're both pretty well the same. Right here on the channels on the Rumble site, you go down here to the gardening side and you go into your, oh, come on, bring it up. And you go into your playlists and bring up your recipes, gardening, cooking, and canning. And you got one in here for, geez, I better be right about this. No need, French toast, cooking, fresh, where are we? Oh my goodness, it's not there. I posted it, but it's not in the list. It probably is in the YouTube channel. That's embarrassing. Let's go over to our YouTube channel then. So we go to our associated channel because YouTube is different. I can have one master. I can go to one master account and then have a whole bunch of channels underneath. But in YouTube, you need a separate channel for each account. Oh, let's see. Did I put the recipe in here? Here's our cooking. Much better, easier to find there. Oh, geez. I hate how this happens here. Oh, my goodness me. And here we are. Do I have it? Do I have it? Okay, now I really feel bad because it's not there either. Welcome to Occam's Razor Gardening, Cooking, and Canning channel. This episode is how to ossobuco anything. Now, what is ossobuco? Here's your ossobuco right here. That was the whole point of it, is get yourself a nice, cheap piece of meat. And of course, I was playing a little bit there, and you couldn't hear because I didn't have the sound on. Let's see if it comes up. Of course, it's not going to bring my recipe up. Well, they're all pretty well the same. You get yourself a nice, cheap piece of meat, and you cook it for 3 hours following these ossobuco recipes. It makes it nice and tender, and you can have yourself some nice protein, especially with the way the cost of beef is these days. And the price of food is only going to keep increasing because of these national socialist endeavors, whereby the government is more involved in fighting climate change at any cost instead of taking care of Canadians. All right, let's go to our outro. We have things to do, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate it. You know how much it warms my cockles to see the people actually viewing the episode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I quote the CEO of Algoma Steel that there would be an even darker day if this
as long as the CEO is happy with the $400 million gift he got from the Prime Minister, that's all that matters to these Liberals.
If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell them the truth.
Yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth...
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that.
Too bad that minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears all of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that has built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of their country?
And we decide what comes next.
Canada know that this government has their back.
There's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
Of course, there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government.
Being serious means being honest and telling Canadians.
Canada's economy is in fact growing.
Great country.